Hello everyone, I'm Philyn Chan, a cooking and baking instructor and also a certified coach for adult education. Previously, I was sharing my recipe on luchut, and today I'll be showing you how to do a hurricane Swiss roll. I'll be using this Paysan Breton whipped cream from Denmark. Paysan Breton's farms are located in western France, where its temperate climate is the ideal condition for growing large green grass, perfect for grazing cows to produce great milk. Paysan Breton's dairy farmers take great care of their cow, and a happy and healthy cow can produce better quality milk, which is what we are working with today. And with Thermomix, this recipe is really simple and easy to do. So let's get started. So beside the whipped cream, what we need to do will be, first will be the cooking oil, the milk. It can be fresh milk or UHT milk, it's up to you. Vanilla extract, you can use vanilla beans as well. And a pinch of salt. It's my own preference to add a pinch of salt to my desserts. So cake flour, I'll be using natural colouring powder. You can choose to use color gel or any coloring that you like, but for my own preference, because usually I like to have natural and healthy food for my family, I use natural ingredients. So other than that, I'll need eggs as well. Today I'll be showing you how to do the egg white and egg yolk separation method. And I prefer to use raw sugar as well because I feel this is much better. And as you know, when we whip up egg white, a lot of people like to use cream of tartar. But as I mentioned, I like it to be more healthier. I'll use lemon juice instead of cream of tartar. Okay, so first, we can actually weigh using our Thermomix. But due to the demo, I already pre-weigh everything. So what we have here is the milk. And after that, I'll add in the oil. The vanilla extract. And a pinch of salt. After that, we use the spatula. You can also use a spoon to mix well. Next, we'll add in the egg yolk. Mix well as well. So, as long as they are all well incorporated, we can add in the flour. The cake flour I already sifted in advance. You can either use a sieve or you can use a Thermomix to turbo it for 2 seconds. It can serve the same purpose of sieving the flour as well. So I just put everything in. And then fold in. For this, it's very easy. You won't be worried that anything can go wrong because you just need to mix them together. So as long as everything is well combined, it will be fine. Then as you know, the hurricane Swiss roll, there's 2 color tones. So what I need to do now is I'm going to take out 90 grams of the batter. So I just put a bowl on top of the Thermomix. I do a tap. Then I scoop in 90 grams. need not to be so accurate because it's just a plus minus 90 gram will be fine. Slightly lesser is okay, but try not to use too much because if not your base will be too little. Okay, so just now you see that I'm using a hand to mix this batter, but if let's say you have another bowl, you can actually use the bowl to mix it for you, so it will be easy. It will be the same thing. You add in the milk, the oil, the vanilla extract and the salt. Then after that you mix it for a few seconds at probably speed 4. Then after that you can add in the flour again and you mix it well again. And after that you take out about 90 grams. So what we need to do this, we'll add in the color. So it depends on you what kind of color that you want. You can use cocoa powder, you can use matcha powder, but for me, if let's say I don't really like chocolate, so what I use is I use natural color powder. So what I do is I just put a teaspoon in. And then I'll use another spoon to mix it. Okay, so as long as the color is well combined, you can just leave it aside. So now the egg yolk part is done. We'll be doing the egg white part. Okay, as I mentioned, I'll be using this raw sugar. You can see that the raw sugar is quite coarse. So what I need to do is that I'll be using Thermomix to grind for me. Everything I'll add it in. What I need to do is I'll need about 7 seconds and then speed 9. So you can see now the sugar actually turned into powder. So with this powder, it's actually easier. So for this sugar, I'll be using both for my cakes and my cream later on. What I need to do is I pour out this. Because I'm using for both, I have to separate it. But remember, when you grind this sugar, your bowl must be very dry. If not, you won't have this powdery effect. We'll be using this bowl directly, so you don't need to scared that it will be wastage of any of the sugar. So what we need to do now, we're going to whip up the egg white. So as we whip up the egg white, it's important that everything is oil-free and dry as well. So then after that, you pour in the egg white. Normally, I like to use cold eggs. That's why for Thermomix, I can set a temperature of 40 degrees to warm up the egg white. I don't need to bring it out to thaw before using. So I'll set 3 minutes, 40 degrees, speed 3. So after 30 seconds, I'll add in the lemon juice and also slowly add in the sugar. So now I can start. Why 30 seconds? It's because I need the egg white to be slightly foamy before I add in the rest of the ingredients. After adding in the lemon juice, I'll add in the sugar. And because previously I mentioned that this sugar is going to use for the whipping cream. So what I do is I add in spoon by spoon through the hole on top. You can pre-weigh the sugar before adding. Then the rest I'll be using it for my whipping cream. Okay, so you can see that the egg whites are nicely whipped. So for this one, because I'm separating it, I'll be using a very clean spoon or spatula to scoop out the egg white. So first I have to scoop about 50 grams of the egg white, whipped egg white into the base. Then after that, I mix well first. Purpose of doing this is because usually the egg yolk batter is more thicker than the white. We have to so-called lighten it before we add in more egg whites. So what you need to do is you fold. So when it's lighter, I'll add in another 100 grams. To the mixture. Okay, then I fold this gently. Try not to break too much of the air bubble. And when you see that everything is well combined, you have to stop it because we do not want to overflow folding the batter, because if you fold it, then a lot of the gas bubble will be lost and then you will not have a fluffy cake. So now I'll pour this into the tray. The tray size that I'm using today will be around 12 by 9.5, but it's up to you because you can use like 11 by 11. But because when I'm doing a Swiss roll, I do not want the roll to be more. That's why I make it longer rather than doing it as a square. So I laid it with the baking paper, and after that I just pour it in. Okay, so you just, after pour it in, then you just gently spread on the surface to make sure that it's evenly distributed across the tray. Make sure all the four corners are done. Okay. Then we set aside. So we'll be doing the top layer. Same thing, I'll add in about 50 grams to lighten the egg yolk mixture. Because the remaining egg yolk mixture are for this, so whether you add 50 or probably you add slightly lesser is okay. But as you know, when egg white are left in the bowl for some time, it will actually turn watery. So if let's say you are not that fast, what you can do is that you can continue to whip for probably 30 seconds. That's the reason why I say use a clean spoon or spatula, because if let's say your spoon or spatula is not clean enough, then when you can't whip up the egg white anymore. So the same thing, about 30 seconds, speed 3. Then while it's whipping up again, then I'll mix this. So you can see that it's nicely whipped. After that, you can take away the butterfly. And then scrape everything into this. The eggs that I'm using today is a very big size egg. It's about 65 to 70 grams with the shell. So let's say if you are using a smaller eggs, then you might need to use 5 instead of 4. Usually we measure the size of the egg together with the shell. So when you go to buy, you know what kind of eggs to get. So normal such big size eggs, right, I get it from the wet market. And market eggs are usually very fresh. Okay, so gently fold in as well. This one do not overfold as well. So you usually cut from the center, you scrape up, and you turn the bowl. So after mixing, we'll pour it back to the cake tray, covering the top, the entire top. By the way, I already preheat the oven using top and bottom heat at 170 degrees. But later on, we'll be baking at 160. Why I preheat at a higher temperature is because usually when you open the oven, temperature will be like losses. There will be losses, you see. That's the reason why when I preheat, I'll usually preheat 10 degrees higher than what I'm going to use. And I'm not going to use fan, because for cakes, if you use fan, it will be more dry. So I use top and bottom heat. So what you need to do is you slowly pour this over the base. Then use the tip of a spatula to gently spread the coloured batter across to cover most of the part. Do not dip it in, because it will affect the pattern later on. So we just scrape on the surface. For the side is okay, because later on when we draw, it will be well covered. So what we need to do is to make sure the center part, everything is covered by the coloured batter. So after that, you can use the back of a spoon to draw the design. If you, let's say you do not want to use a spoon, you can use your fingers, but I prefer to use a spoon. What we need to draw is we have to draw vertical lines followed by horizontal line, and try to draw the lines nearer to each other so that the design will be nicer. So what I need to do is I just draw, and for this one, make sure that the tip of the back of the spoon, you have to touch the tray. You have to make sure that you are so-called scraping the bottom. So now I'm drawing vertical lines first, and the line that I'm going to draw is very close to each other. So after the vertical lines, I just turn the spoon and then I draw horizontal line. The same thing, try to make the line as close to each other as possible, and then make sure that your tip of the back of the spoon has to touch the tray, which like you are scraping through. But do be careful, you don't tear the baking paper. So after you are done, you'll need to tap the tray lightly on the table. This is to release any big air bubbles so that your cake will be smoother. So usually you tap one side, you turn, and you tap. Usually I'll go one round because sometimes when you hold different part of the tray, it might be different. So after that, I'll put this into the oven. And after putting in the oven, I'll turn the temperature to 160 using top and bottom heat. I'll need to bake this for 15 minutes, but it's depending on your oven, whether how hot your oven is. You might need to monitor it yourself. And normally, if you see that the top layer start to brown, that means it's done. You don't overcook it, because if not, your cake will be too dry. So what you can test is you can buy a cake tester, or probably you can get a satay stick and you just poke it into the cake, and when it come out clean, meaning that the cake is being cooked. So now we can prepare the cream. Okay. So I'll pour in the cream. Then I sprinkle the sugar at the side. For whipping up the cream, it depends on the fat contents and whether how cold your bowl or how cold the cream is. The colder it is, the easier to whip. So normally it will take about 30 seconds to 2 minutes depending on the cream. So for this one, I'll be using about 1 minute and 30 seconds, speed 3.5, but you can open up the hole to take a look at it. If you find that the texture of the cream is not as to your expectation, you can increase the timing. Because as I mentioned earlier, it can take about 30 seconds to 2 to 3 minutes. But don't over whip your cream, because if you over whip your cream, it will become butter. So today, I took about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to whip it up. I already pre-baked a cake, because if we are using fresh cream, we have to let the cake cool down before we apply. If not, your cake will melt the cream. So, and for the cake, it depends on you whether you like to have the skin of the cake there or without the skin. Usually I like it without the skin, because sometimes if let's say you draw patterns on it, you can see the pattern better without the skin. So what I need to do is I have to overturn this cake. Then after that, slowly peel off. So to roll up the Swiss roll, some people like to trim off the side, but I usually don't do that, because by trimming it off, that means you are wasting that piece, you see. What I do is I just roll it in. It would probably harder for you to roll, and probably it will not look that nice, and if let's say you're not very good, it might break. So let's say for beginners, if you want, you can trim about using your knife 45 degree, you trim it off. But usually I like to use everything, because I don't like to waste any of the food. And when I apply, I try to leave a gap at the side, because when you roll, the cream will be pushed out. Besides using fresh cream, you can use jam to spread, or you can buy Nutella to spread as well. And other than that, some variation you can do is that you can, after you spread the cream, you can put fruits, to line a line of fruits, and then roll it in the center. Okay, to start rolling, you just push it up. So besides you slice a piece off, you can actually make some cutting lines for you to easy to roll the cake as well. So if let's say you want to put fruits, right, you'll put the fruits over here. And then you pull the paper. If you want a tighter roll, pull the bottom part of the layer and then you tuck the roll in. I have this actually custom made, where I pull the paper, then I tuck in the roll so that your roll will be tighter. But for sometimes, if let's say your cake is too thick or probably is too cold, it might break easily. I mean the cake itself. So after that, usually we will leave this in the fridge for at least 30 minutes to set it before we cut, so that it will not unroll itself, because if you cut immediately, the cake is not well set, then it might unfold itself, you see. So usually I'll put this in the fridge for at least 30 minutes before cutting. Okay, so the cake is baked. So after baking, right, it's better for you to take it out and cool it on a cooling rack, and then remember to tear off the side so that the side will remain straight and nice. So it depends on what filling that you'll be using. If let's say you are using a jam, then you don't need to wait until it's completely cool. You can straight away spread and then roll it out. Usually when it's warm, it's easier to roll because the cake is still soft. But if let's say we are using fresh cream, we do not want the heat of the cake to melt the cream, then we have to let it cool slightly more, but then it will be harder to roll because the cake will be slightly more stiff. Okay, I have baked some in advance, so you can see the hurricane design over here. And talking about the variation that, okay, this is without the skin, because you can see that without the skin you can see the pattern better. This is without the cake skin, this skin, and this is with the skin. So with the skin you can see that you can't see this drawing better. So, and then this too, actually I put in strawberry jelly. I cooked the strawberry jelly and then I just spread it in the middle, then I rolled it up. So there are a lot of variation that you can do. I do different color as well, so it's up to you. So I hope you have enjoyed this session, and do like and share, and also invite your friends to watch the tutorial together again if you like it. So I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.